Now to the rest of our stories. People of Umuzocha Ibodo, a Syrian community in the Eche local government area of Rivers State, is urging the Rivers State government to rehabilitate the two dilapidated schools to give comfort and convenience to students in the area. The paramount ruler of Umuzoche Ibodo, Chief Emmanuel Aguara, who recently inspected the two schools, wondered if his community and people were still part and parcel of Rivers State. Chief Aguara, a retired assistant superintendent of police, who revealed that he was also an alumnus of the community primary since 1976, averred that the school is now a shadow of its old self. The monarch lamented that despite writing severally to the state government and the State Universal Basic Education Board on the need to urgently renovate the school, no meaningful response was forthcoming, and described the development as a huge disappointment. Also speaking, the principal of the community secondary school, Umuzoche Ibodo of the UBE section, Mr. Akabo Kongo, said that he has been in the media severally to complain of the lack of infrastructure, teachers and laboratory without any positive response, and equally called on the Rivers State governor to rescue the school from the current predicament. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, promises to carry the Rivers APC and all Nigerians along towards 2027. The minister said he would never discriminate against anyone on the basis of religion, ethnicity, or political affiliations, as he vows to mobilize electoral support for President Bola Tinubu in the next election, as those who scored 2,000 in the 2023 elections would score next to nothing in 2027. The minister, who spoke on Thursday in Abuja while hosting leaders of the All Progressives Congress from Rivers State, led by the National Vice Chairman, South Victor Gadon, Wike said, "Let me say clearly and to the hearing of everyone, we owe a duty to continue to support Mr. President, irrespective of the political party we belong. My position is not hidden. I owe nobody no apologies that I stand firm with Tinubu. I stand for equity, fairness, and justice." Speaking on inclusivity, Wike said, "I thank God today that the battle has ended to the glory of God. We are all members of the Nigerian state, and therefore it is important for us all to understand that the Nigerian state does not belong to a particular person or group. As a country of this nature, if it takes the next opportunity, should go to be inclusivity. So I am not going to discriminate against anyone. I am here for Nigerians. I am here for those who are members of political parties and those who are not members of any political party." Reacting to the development on ATN Open Conversation, socio-political analyst Andy Akpotive criticized the political class for the decadence of politics in the country. Here is a track.
The leader of the PDP would say those who scored 2,000 will not score 50, arrogating to himself the power of the voters. Who decides what any political leader or political party would score in any election? Who decides? The funniest thing is that what is so nauseous for me is the fact that the other members of APC are there listening in on this and tacitly applauding it. It speaks to the fact that our brand of politics in Nigeria, and I defined it on this platform once upon a time. I said to you and to our listeners that we run a political brand that is called the Babati Sokwe political system, wherein one big man, the Godhead, the Godfather, says this is what must be, and it wouldn't matter whatever it is that the electorate wants. That's what must be. Everything I have seen, heard, read you talk about here in this story points to the fact that elections don't take place in Nigeria. If they do, how is it that some people are going to a man who is saying to them that he can assure them that some other people who got 2,000 last time will not get 50? And they are sitting down there excitedly receiving, for me, such messaging that only speaks to the evil in our politics.
Andy Akpotive further condemned the political class for putting selfish interests to the fore ahead of the people whom they should serve. Here is the report.
By standards, the people will cast their ballot and will decide for the candidate that they believe would give them the best dividends of democracy. Sorry, Mr. Minister. Sorry, Mr. Ex-Governor. Sorry, Mr. Minister. We are not here to say. In any case, did you see Dakuku, Peter Sides there? In any case, did you see Toye Cole there? Did you see the other people? Did you see an Amechi there? It speaks to the fact that we run a political system that is solely based on the Babati Sokpe system that feeds the stomach infrastructure of those who call themselves political.
Environmental Health Officers Association in Bayelsa State is appealing to the state government to lift the ban it imposed on inspection activities about 2 years ago following a professional role conflict cutting across relevant ministries, departments and MDAs. The state chairman, Tarawere Ebikabade, made the appeal when he led other officials of the association on a courtesy visit to the head of Environmental Rights Action and Friends of the Earth Nigeria, Yenagoa office, Alagua Morris, to solicit assistance towards resolving the issue. Ebikabade recalled that the state deputy governor Lawrence Ewurujabo had in November 2021 in an announcement signed his media aide Dabra Alasi, who directed all environmental health workers to stop embarking on field work and inspection activities, adding that the restriction had not been lifted since then and they had not been able to carry out their duties of inspecting markets, restaurants, supermarkets, streets, residential buildings and regulated premises like hotels, among others, to safeguard public health. He averred that the environmental health role conflict was among health officers in the Ministry of Health, State Environmental Sanitation Authority, Ministry of Environment and the Yenagoa local government area because they all visit the same places for inspection, which caused confusion among residents over undefined functions. Ebi Kapade further noted that the government had set up a committee in early 2022 to resolve the problem, but nothing had been heard about the effort, adding that members of the association had not been able to do the routine inspection activities in Yenagoa and its environs, especially despite written letters and moves by the association to seek audience. Election Petition Tribunal in Benin, Edo State, has nullified the election of Destiny Enabuelele of the People's Democratic Party as the member representing Ovio Southwest constituency in the State House of Assembly. The tribunal declared Sunday Ahedo of the All Progressives Congress as the rightful winner of the election held on 15th March 2023. This is coming after Ahedo had challenged the declaration of Enabuelele as the winner of the election by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The tribunal ruled that the election was filled with irregularities and malpractices, and the evidence presented by Ahedo and the APC was more credible. Former Niger Delta militant leader Asari Dokubo has criticized the governance processes of President Bola Tinubu's appointment. Dokubo said President Tinubu's appointments were one-sided and dangerous to the well-being of Nigeria, adding that they wondered why Tinubu appointed Bosun Tijani as the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy despite his previous criticisms and abuses. According to Dokubo, Nigerians voted for the Muslim ticket because they know who Tinubu is, and even though today his appointments are one-sided, they must speak out because Nigeria is not Lagos, where while calling on President Tinubu to look back at appointments and balance it if the country truly belongs to all Nigerians. Abia State Police Command has confirmed the beheaded policeman in Abia State on Thursday by unidentified gunmen. Eyewitnesses said the policeman was killed by unidentified gunmen while others fled, leaving the corpse and the security vehicle. The Abia State Police Command said it has affirmed that there was an attack on the security team at Ishaha village, Omojima, Osisioma in Aba. but no policeman was killed, but a beheaded body was met on the scene of the crime, which was investigated to be identified as Obinna Ndukwe, also known as Socket, who was a member of the Abia State Vigilante and often collaborated with the police. A statement signed by the police public relations officer Maureen Chinaka said officers successfully recovered the vehicle used by the hoodlums in the attack, and efforts are underway to apprehend the perpetrators and urge all citizens to remain calm and security conscious while going about their activities. This is the Global News Tonight. We'll be back after this break.
The National Broadcasting Commission welcomes broadcasters, content creators, tech experts, exhibitors, and investors from Nigeria and all over to the 13th edition of Africast. Africast 2023 brings you 3 days of world-class exposition, innovation, and technology advancement, featuring an exceptional lineup of industry leaders that will inspire and guide you with their insights and expertise. Theme: broadcast content, synergy, finance, and market. Date: Tuesday the 24th to Thursday the 26th of October 2023. Venue: Marriott Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos. Time: 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Chief host: Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris. Host: Mr. Charles Ibwebu, Director General. Announcer: Management, NBC. Your right to quality broadcasting.
High Court in Enugu has ordered the Southeast governors to pay Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, 8 billion naira as compensation. Justice A.O. Onovo ruled that the sum was compensation for infringing on Kanu's fundamental human rights. The judge gave the order while passing judgment on Kanu's appeal against IPOB's proscription. Kanu, through his special counsel, Aloy Ejimako, had dragged the Southeast governors and the federal government before the Enugu High Court over IPOB's proscription and violation of his fundamental rights in 2017. The presiding judge ordered the Southeast governors to apologize to Kanu and publish the apology in 3 national dailies. This was disclosed in a statement by Ejimako tagged Mazen Nnamdi Kanu IPOB wins landmark victory against proscription of IPOB. Reacting to the development on ATM blowout, public affairs analyst Gogo Wellington criticized the judgment of the court ordering Southeast governors to pay Kanu 8 billion naira as compensation, while citing the ruling as vague and not having any form of clarity. Here is a report.
Actually, the pronouncement of prescription actually emanated from the federal government.
True.
So them ruling that the Southeast governors should pay Nnamdi Kanu 8 billion. Okay, that's the current Southeast government, because I know those that had issues with Nnamdi Kanu are even the former governors. So then, who is going to actually take that judgment? Is it these new governors who would actually evade this kind of judgments, and you see this issue being protracted and stretched out for the next 10 to 15 years? Court judgments in our society in these days does not really move anybody, because the judiciary has proven themselves to not be able to actually push forward or compel, what would I call it, compliance to judgments. So now the pronouncement has been made. We are watching and waiting to see if there will be anything, if anything will be done, because it's vague. The judgment itself is vague. The award 8 billion to Southeast governor. Who is Southeast governor? Is Southeast governor Abia State governor? Is Southeast governor Imo State governor? You're telling Southeast governor. So who are, when you're serving the judgment papers and you're expecting compliance, who is supposed to comply? And to what extent are they supposed to comply? What is the percentage of the amount awarded that, let's say, is allocated to Abia State, allocated to Imo State, Anambra, Enugu, and Ebonyi State? So how are you going to share it? So I think it's just another sensational judgment to just beat our drums and distract us from what is currently happening.
Gogo Wellington further called for the judiciary to have autonomy from the from the other arms of government over its judicative functions and enable the court to effect, implement, and compel compliance in its judgments. Here is the report.
That's why we're talking about the issue of compliance with judicial pronouncements, right? The judiciary is more or less like an appendage of the executive arm now. Whatever it is that the executive arm wants to do, that is what it does. When it doesn't matter whether the judiciary makes pronouncements, it doesn't matter whether the legislature makes pronouncements. This is a very, what would I call it? A shift from the norm. Let me call it that way, because normally these three arms of government are supposed to be equal, right? The judges or the judiciary is supposed to be able to effect judgments, implement them, and ensure compliance. The legislature is supposed to, through their own instruments, be able to enforce what they know or feel is right in our institution and in our government. But now you see the over-glorification of the executive arm, all because we play a kind of politics that just dances around the topic of money and monetary benefits, knowing very well that the system is so structured now that there is no independence of the judiciary or financial autonomy, if I should say that, of the judiciary, of the legislature. Everybody still depends on the executive for them to be able to access funds. So when they depend on the executive to access funds, that is why you see all these abuse being perpetrated in these other arms. So this issue of non-compliance with judgments will continue until we actually get an independent judiciary and an independent legislature. This judgment has been given. Fair and good. It's been given. But we know very well that all the other ones, they should start implementing from the release first. Because those other ones have been given over a year ago, some close to 2 years ago. So now, why don't you start, if you want to actually start enforcing those judgments, start from the ones that have been given before this one.
Kingmakers in Oyo town, otherwise known as the Oyomesi in Council, have filed a suit seeking to restrain the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, from removing and replacing them amid the struggle to select the next occupant of the revered Alafin of Oyo stool. The suit before the Oyo State High Court in Oyo State has as claimants 5 kingmakers who are also seeking a court injunction to restrain the governor and his agents from aborting the process for the selection and appointment of the candidate for filling the vacant stool of Alafin of Oyo, duly conducted by the kingmakers of Alafin of Oyo chieftaincy. The kingmakers who filed the suit are the Basharun of Oyo, High Chief Yusuf Layinka Laguna of Oyo, High Chief Wakil Oyedepo, Akiniku of Oyo, High Chief Amusa Yusuf, Areago Basharun, Chief Wahab Oyetunji, and the Alapo of Oyo, Chief Badebo Mufatau. Apart from Makinde, who listed as defendants in the suit were the Oyo State Attorney General and the State's Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. The kingmakers explained that they had a meeting on September 30th, 2023, unanimously selected Prince Lukman Badagashin as the next Alafin of Oyo to fill the ancient stool, which has become vacant since April last year, following the passing of Oba Lamidi Adeyemi, who was the 45th Alafin of Oyo, and prayed the court to restrain the Oyo State Governor and his agents from nullifying the choice of Badagashin and approving or recognizing any other candidate as the next Alafin after a duly conducted process for the filling of the vacant stool of Alafin of Oyo in accordance with the native law, custom and chieftaincy declaration of Alafin of Oyo chieftaincy. There is no hearing date yet for the fresh suit filed by the kingmakers. The understate governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, has condemned the apology tendered by his deputy, Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa, over the ongoing political crisis in the state. This is coming following the political crisis that has plagued understate in recent months. But Aiyedatiwa on Thursday apologized to Akeredolu. The governor, who reacted to the apology through his senior special assistant on special duties and strategy, Dr. Doyin Odebawale, also rejected some of the claims made in his apology and insisted that his deputy, had a question to answer before the State House of Assembly, while Aiyedatiwa blamed the ongoing crisis on desperate politicians in the state, stating that he remains loyal to the governor and also denied sponsoring any protest against Akeredolu. Odebowale, in a statement on behalf of the governor, disagreed with the deputy governor's point that Akeredolu had intervened in the crisis by asking the House to embrace political solution to the crisis, and faulted the denial of the deputy governor that he had never sponsored any group to protest against the governor. He also took exception to Aiyedatiwa's reference to Akeredolu's ill health, saying more instructive is the unfortunate reference made to a series of events triggered by the health challenges faced by Mr. Governor, which gave rise to misunderstandings, misconceptions, assumptions, and insinuations, and exploited by political contenders preparing for the upcoming 2024 gubernatorial election. About 17 senior advocates of Nigeria from Kogi State have called for the suspension of appointment of new judges into the state judiciary until certain criteria are met. In a letter to the Chief Judge and Chairman of Kogi State Judicial Service Commission, Justice Josiah Majebi, which was dated October 20th, 2023, titled Re-Provisional short list of candidates of 10 judicial officers of the High Court of Justice, Sharia Court of Appeal, and Customary Court of Appeal. The indigenous Kogi Sans stated that appointments of judges to superior courts of record is regulated and requires provision of basic facilities such as availability of courtrooms and judges' chambers, official cars, residential accommodation, as well as equipped library in judges' chambers, citing Rules 1 to 5 of National Judicial Council revised guidelines. According to the 12-point issues raised in the letter signed by Usman, life a bencher for himself and on behalf of 16 other senior advocates, the legal luminaries also pointed out that the proposed candidates listed for appointments of judges did not reflect the geographical spread, adding that the list is lopsided to the disadvantage of other parts of the state, while the candidates listed for customary courts of appeal are all from Kogi Central, and there is no candidate from Kogi East or Kogi West, noting that there are qualified persons from Kogi East and Kogi West that were not selected. It also said the appointment of judges according to the legal luminaries must be in compliance to Section 14, subsection 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and be based on merit, competence, fairness, and equity among the various tribes of the state, which they observed in the instance case were not observed in breach. Over 20 people have sustained various degrees of injuries following a tanker explosion at a patrol station in Regasa area of Kaduna State. Director of Kaduna State Fire Service, Mr. Paul Aboy, who disclosed this in Kaduna, said among other injured were 5 federal firefighters, some personnel of Kaduna Vigilance Service, and passers-by. The director also said that the injured fire service personnel are currently receiving treatment at the Barao Diko Specialist Hospital. Kaduna adding that the tanker was offloading petrol at the station when the incident occurred, and blamed the incident on negligence on the part of the filling station, saying the offloading of the petrol shouldn't have been done in the afternoon. Breast cancer is one of the major health issues globally, with estimated incidence rate of 44 per 10,000 women and 1% of men cases leading to cancer-related death of 25% of all cancer cases. Its prevalence in Nigeria among younger women, with over 50% of cases occurring in women under the age of 50. Against this concern, Greenfield University and the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and the UCL joined campaign against breast cancer to students, schools, and communities in Kaduna State. Here is the update.
The skin of a breast is just like the back of orange. When you see this, it's a strong indication. You can see the nipple has gone backward.
According to the World Health Organization, breast cancer is the most common among women worldwide, both in developed and developing countries. It's the second leading cause of cancer death in women after lung cancer, with 2.3 million new cases of breast cancer and 685,000 deaths from the disease worldwide. The expert at this sensitization says breast cancer affects both genders, with millions of individuals, and 85% of cases occur in women with no family history of cancer disease. Hence the need for self-examination, constant awareness, and educating communities on early detection and ways to prevent prevent cancer. He called on government at all levels, stakeholders join the fight to end breast cancer by providing free medical centers and access to quality health. Here is the report.
Do self-examination so that you detect if there's issue with your breast or you have this cancer of the breast. So if it is being detected at early stage, it is treatable. But when it has spread or metastasized to any part of the body, so by then it's difficult to treat. So therefore we create this awareness for people to do self-examination so that you can have early detection of these deadly diseases. It's my call to the government and the stakeholders, other stakeholders, is to also help to assist in creating this awareness. And for those that have come down with this, we should give the support. The government should give the kind of support where those with breast cancer will be treated free, so that people that have it can come out and prevent themselves. Many are dying silently because they don't have the means of this treatment. So we want government to support or create this awareness to treat people with breast cancer, free, so that this incident will be reduced.
Also, the Pro-Chancellor of Greenfield University, Engineer Simon Wakacha, says breast cancer is a global health concern that affects most young girls and women in society, adding that the varsity remain committed to promoting health awareness, educate students and communities by providing center for early detection and access to quality health care services. Here is the report.
Today, this breast cancer awareness program is a typical joint effort between NNPC's zonal office and Greenfield University to spread this news to our students, our teachers, and the larger community of Nigeria as a whole on the importance of knowing their breast cancer status. Cancer awareness program is something that stakeholders, government, NGOs, various agencies should join. They should join hands because you can see that knowledge is power. So it's very good that this type of awareness is being created around. So many people should join hands in creating this awareness nationwide.
Some of the students and participants expressed delight on awareness campaign, saying it has broadened their knowledge for self-examination once every 1 month and need to visit medical center for further checkup. Here is a report.
What I learned today, I learned a lot about cancer and how to prevent it, and I really love the lecture. I will start with my personal hygiene to prevent it, and whenever I see like anything occurring to my breast, I have to go and seek medical attention. Always visit the doctor no matter what. Like they say, health is wealth.
It's really helped me a lot because I get more educated, more idea of it. Because before I never have any idea of it, I just believe that maybe breast cancer is small thing, you go to the hospital. But this lecture today helped me to know more that you can stay at home and get a little idea before you go to the hospital.
They insist that to win war against breast cancer, regular screening and self-examination, constant exercise will reduce high rate of cancer in society. Over 2,168 repentant Boko Haram members have graduated from the federal government's de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration program in Gombe State. Commandant of the DRR camp Operation Safe Corridor, Colonel Abiodun Johnson, stated this during a Katsu visit by the Borno Deputy Governor, Dr. Usman Kadufor, adding that they passed through various rebuilding programs and underwent series of medical screening, psychological and psychospiritual counseling, sports therapy, drug abuse counseling, and Western education programs. He also said that during the 6 months program, the clients were trained on vocational skills, including carpentry, cap knitting, shoemaking, tailoring, and electrification. And all the clients also ventured into farming in the camp as a compulsory trade, noting that the program was divided into 3 phases: the initial documentation, initial medical test, intelligence profiling, and NIMC profiling, biometrics, and capturing. Patriotic Elders Forum of Nigeria has asked the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, to show more maturity by not only accepting the verdict of the Apex Court, but also coming out to support the government of President Bola Tinubu. The elders believe that Atiku Abubakar had fought a gallant legal battle up to the Supreme Court, should now show his full respect and compassion for the government of President Bola Tinubu, especially now that everything about the 2023 election has been finally concluded and the findings of the rule of law and justice. Abdul Aziz also advised President Tinubu on his part to be magnanimous in victory, because according to him, victory is for all Nigerians, especially peace-loving citizens, and should be friendly to all those who contested the nation's exalted seat with him to look towards solving the myriad of problems in the country. The elders urged President Tinubu to fully concentrate on solving the devastating poverty and high inflation in the country, so that citizens would reap the benefits of their popular mandate to him. Independent Electoral Commission has advised media outfits in the country to avoid propagating fake news that might hinder the conduct of the November 11 election. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, made the appeal at the quarterly consultative meeting with the media at the INEC headquarters in Abuja. Professor Mahmood, who stated that INEC does not believe in censorship, pointed out that the best antidote to fake news is greater openness and regular and consistent engagement with stakeholders, while assuring that INEC will continue to work together with the media in this regard. Here is a report. The INEC chairman disclosed that 94 media organizations deploying 1,255 personnel have been accredited for the elections, and accredited media organizations will be notified in the next few days of the date for the collection of the identity cards for their officials. The Director News Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Mrs. Hussainiya Bankshika, responding on behalf of the media executives, pledged the continued collaboration of the media with INEC and commended the Commission for its sustained collaboration with the media, noting that INEC has come to understand that media is integral to the country electoral process and her democracy. Here is a report.
I'd like to also assure you that the issue of fake news is quite a big challenge, but nobody here among my colleagues will deliberately go out there to spread fake news. In fact, this engagement you are sustaining with the media is an antidote, as you said, against fake news. So we on our part will do our bit and contribute responsibly to ensuring that we do not encourage the spread of fake news and will not also engage in it.
Bankshika urged the Commission to continue to engage the security agencies on the safety of journalists in the coming elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State. National Chairman of Labour Party, Julius Abure, says the outcome of the last presidential election has shown that Nigeria is sliding towards dictatorship Abure made the remark while accusing the President Bola Tinubu-led federal government of attempting to suppress its presidential candidate, Peter Obi, adding that the verdict of the Supreme Court regarding the presidential election has shown that the executive has hijacked the judiciary and legislature, stressing that Nigerians have thrown away the lessons of their forefathers within a short space of time. A statement by Abure said, "There are great lessons to be learned, and what transpired in Nigeria since the February 25th presidential election is a clear statement that the institutions are not working and may be sliding towards dictatorship, especially where the executive has hijacked both the judiciary and the legislature, and it has become so unfortunate for democracy." He accused the current administration of putting on record that we have on very good authority that the government may have remarked some Labour Party's key leaders, including leaders and presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi in particular, for verification in order to suppress the party, suffocate the team, and the goal of a new Nigeria, coupled with a planned persecution, intimidation, suppression, and harassment of leaders using security agencies and all other government institutions that will be definitely defended, while urging Labour Party members and the obedient family to be vigilant and brace up for the challenges ahead, stressing that the struggle for a new Nigeria will certainly be tortuous and hard. Igbo Apex Sociocultural Organization, Ohaneze Ndigbo, have called on Atiku and Obi to accept the ruling of Nigeria's Supreme Court for the sake of Nigeria's unity. The group's Secretary General Okechukwu Isiguzoro Ohaneze, in a statement issued on Thursday evening, said, "The verdict reinforces the credibility and integrity of our democratic institutions and as well highlights the importance of upholding the rule of law and the will of the people." And in light of this outcome, Ohaneze Ndigbo calls upon the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter Obi of the LP to emulate the historic gesture of former President Goodluck Jonathan, who congratulated and supported the immediate past Nigerian President Muhammad Buhari after the 2015 election. We urge them to reach out to the main political opponent in the 2023 election, President Tinubu, and extend their congratulations on his victory in the Supreme Court. This gesture of sportsmanship and magnanimity is crucial in fostering unity, dealing divisions, and setting a positive example for their supporters. Ohaneze congratulated President Tinubu on the reaffirmation of his victory and urged him to exhibit magnanimity in victory. Reacting to the development on ATM blowout, public affairs analyst Gogo Wellington said the actions of the political class are to blame for the damage done to our institutions. Here is a report.
Any society that values justice, like I said earlier, would know that in taking things like this into consideration, you need to actually look at the source, the origin of the issues that has been discussed. We have a political system, an electoral system that is so flawed that even the international community had a very, very bad report, very negative report on these activities. But because it is what they are used to them it's business as usual. They do not know that they are institutionalizing these practices. They are setting an example that the younger ones are going to learn from, right? Those of them that are beneficiaries of this corrupt system now were not the beneficiaries as at 2003, as at 99, as at 2007, right? So they forget that also their own turn will pass, and those that have maybe perfected the act of their criminal enterprise would also outstage them. So when you institutionalize corruption, institutionalize sharp practices, you're not just doing yourself harm, you are preparing, you're even setting the tools for your own destruction. Because when someone does that to you too, it will be just.
Gogo Wellington further cautioned social, cultural, and religious bodies against its involvement, seemingly accepting a judgment that has truncated the people's will. Here is a report.
So when I Ohaneze, there are certain matters that you should just be silent about. Yeah. It's not everything you just come and start making statements on. Because justice has been perverted. that what happened in the Supreme Court was not justice. And everybody that followed the elections, the February elections, the presidential and National Assembly elections, presidential elections, knows what happened in this country. And so for them to now be calling for these candidates to congratulate Tinubu after a successful hijack of the judiciary, I think they need to take a second.
National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, says there was still room for the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and the Labour Party, P2B, to actualize their presidential aspirations after the second-term tenure of President Bola Tinubu in 2031. The ruling party chair also applauded the Supreme Court's decision, which upheld the victory of President Tinubu in the February 25th presidential election, while Ganduje, in a statement signed by his chief press secretary, Mr. Edwin Olofu, said the judgment had laid to rest all claims by the opposition political parties that the votes at the presidential poll were manipulated in favor of Tinubu, adding that the outcome of the Supreme Court verdict would now pave way for Tinubu to concentrate on implementing the renewed hope mandate of the APC for the benefit of Nigerians. Ganduje also called on Nigerians, irrespective of political leanings, to rally around the president to ensure that he delivers more dividends of democracy and move the country to the path of sustainable progress. Nigeria Army says 6,350 newly recruited soldiers will be deployed to counter activities of criminal elements. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tariq Lawaja, who disclosed this in Zaria, Kaduna State, at the personal parade of the 85 regular recruits intake, noted that the Nigeria is faced with numerous security challenges occasioned by the activities of Boko Haram terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, separatists, agitators, religious extremists, and other criminal elements, and reiterated his commitment and support to improve the standard of training as well as the welfare of recruits, instructors, and staff of Depot Nigeria Army. He taxed the new soldiers on loyalty, selfless service, courage, discipline, integrity, and respect for others, which he described as the core values of the Nigerian Army. Here is the report.
The young soldiers are coming into the Nigerian Army at a period when our dear country is faced with myriads of security challenges. The variety of threats that they will be deployed to manage or defeat include insurgency in the northeast, banditry and cattle rustling in the northwest, farmers' clashes in the north central, secessionist agitations and cultism in the southeast, militancy, and vandalization of critical national assets and infrastructure in the south-south and southwest. This plethora of security challenges has necessitated the Nigerian Army's increased manpower drive.
On his part, the Kaduna State Governor, Senator Oba Sani, says he is excited about the new crop of soldiers and urged them to add value to the available numbers on ground to fight against insurgency in the country. Here is a report.
Today is also clearly some of his achievement, because when I came here this morning, I've seen the over 6,000 very energetic men and women who have just been who just witnessed their own passing out today. And I've no doubt in my mind what happened today will definitely assist us in addressing our security problem in Nigeria, because we've always been saying that we are lacking the boots on ground. And these 6,000 very energetic men and women will certainly be now posted to various states. Here in Kaduna, we need these very energetic men and women that have been that have just passed out today to be posted to some of the areas in Kaduna, particularly Benengwari, Giwa, Igabi, and most of the Aziz in southern part of Kaduna, because we are lacking the boots. So what I can say here today is to commend the Chief of Staff, to also commend the Commandant of the DECO, because they have done extremely well. 6,000 for me is a very good number, and I have no doubt in my mind most of these young men and women that we saw today will certainly go all out to support the Nigerian army, support the public, and support us in also addressing the problem of insecurity, because for me it's the most important area that we need to address in Nigeria. And these are young men and women that have gone and passed through a lot of tests, very disciplined, very courageous, and I believe with support from some of us, we need to give them a lot of political support and a political will for them to perform. So what I would say here is we will be supporting the military generally and the army in particular.
Following the assessment of threats that face us in different parts of the country, the Nigerian army has come to the realization of the gaps. And part of the gaps is the inadequacy of manpower, inadequacy of equipment, and even the quality of the manpower itself. And so what Depot Nigerian Army has done today will go a long way to addressing those gaps that the Nigerian Army has identified in addressing the insecurity that confront us as a country. 6,315 well-trained young men will go a long way to address insecurity here in Kaduna and in other parts of the country. So going forward, in the coming days, Nigerians should expect renewed vigor from formations and units of the Nigerian Army based on the troop surge that we witness as a result of the deployment of these young soldiers that have just passed out, and the deployment of other equipment and combat enablers that the government has provided for us to combat operations. So, looking forward, I foresee the security situation across the country abating and the law-abiding citizens witnessing renewed stability and an atmosphere of peace that they can go about their lawful business.
Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, says the Anti-Narcotics Agency will deploy personnel in all 774 local government areas of the country in 2024 as part of our efforts to strengthen the war against substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking, especially in local communities. Marwa made the pledge while responding to a request for partnership and deployment of more NDLEA officers in all parts of Katsina by the state governor, Dr. Diko Umar. Rather, to tame the problem of drug abuse and insecurity in the state. A statement issued by Femi Babafemi, the NDLEA's Director of Media and Advocacy, Marwa said, with the agency's staff strength expected to rise to 15,000 by the end of the year, the next development was to deploy in the LGAs, as the agency currently have zonal commands, state commands, and area commands, stating that operatives will go to the LGAs for the offensive action and the advocacy work. He commended Governor Rather for his efforts to surmount the various challenges faced and enhance the socio-economic development of the state, stressing that the drug menace is a huge issue and has destroyed the lives of youth and communities. He also said 99% of the criminals first have access to drugs and usually act under the influence of to perpetrate crimes, and appealed to the government to have a state a drug control committee of which the NDLEA will be the secretary and the chairperson would be the first lady of the state, because they are the mothers and have the best interest of the government at heart, while the agency will complement government's efforts to solve the problem of insecurity facing the state and the country at large. Leaders and elders of the Southeast, Southwest, South-South, and Middle Belt regions represented by Ohaneze Ndibo Worldwide Afenifere Pan Niger Delta Forum and Middle Belt Forum, respectively, are calling on the President Bola Tinubu-led government as a matter of urgency and priority work towards the restructuring of the country and enthrone true federalism, as well as was originally entrenched in the 1960 and 1963 constitutions. The leaders and elders who stated this held a crucial meeting in Abuja on Thursday, 26 October 2023, said without restructuring, the future of Nigerian democracy remains bleak and must therefore be carried out immediately, while expressing great concern and total rejection off the trend where certain sections of the country are continually marginalized in the number of states and governments and even appointments into the Federal Executive Council. The communique issued at a meeting chaired by the leader, Chief Dr. E.K. Clark, OFR, and had in attendance several national leaders, including Chief Ayo Adebanjo, leader Afenifere, Chief Dr. Emmanuel Iwayamu, President General Ohanes Ndibo worldwide, Dr. Pogo Beatrice, President Middle Belt Forum, Chief Senator Cornelius Adebayo, former governor of Kwara State, Obong Victor Atta, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, and Senator Emmanuel Ibok Essien, national chairman, PANDEF, and several others requested that the Southeast be appropriately represented on the Federal Executive Council similar to other geopolitical zones, while insisting that Nigeria must always remain a country where all citizens and sections enjoy a full sense of belonging and equality. The group commends the political class, especially the leading presidential candidates in the 2023 presidential election, for their recourse to constitutional means in redressing their grievances, adding that the Supreme Court judgment on the 2023 presidential election delivered on Thursday, 26 October 2023, which effectively brings to an end the legal processes on the conduct and outcome of the presidential election held on 25th February 2023, and will in the coming days make a substantial pronouncement on the judgment. Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Arewola, says the Supreme Court now has the lowest number of justices in its history and needs more justices for the Apex Court. According to him, the Apex Court has only 10 justices on its bench to tackle the heavy workload of pending cases. Justice Ariwola spoke on the occasion of retirement of Justice Musa Datijo Mohammed, who attained the mandatory retirement age of 70 years, and assured that efforts are on top gear to elevate a sizable justices to the bench of the court. The CJN paid glowing tributes to the retired justice, saying, "My Lord Honorable Justice Musa Datijo Muhammad, in whose honor we assemble here today, is an epitome of jurisprudential finesse, an insuperable Leon with an irrepressible voice in the temple of justice," adding that the justices identify with an accomplished prudential iconoclast that has offered the best of his intellect to the advancement of the legal profession through his several years of unblemished and uncontrovertible adjudications at different levels of courts in Nigeria. African Network for Environment and Economic Justice ANEJ has responded to the UK court ruling on the Process and Industrial Development Limited (PNID) scandal. The executive director ANEJ, Reverend David Ugolo, said Business and Property Court in London stopped enforcement of the $11 billion arbitration award in favor of PNID against Nigeria in a case market CL 2019-000752, adding that Judge Robin Knowles found out that the massive arbitration award was tainted by fraud and contrary to public policy. According to him, PNID claims that Nigeria violated the terms of its agreement by failing to gas for the power plants it wants to build for the country. He said the judge granted Nigeria's request for a stay on any asset seizures while its legal challenge is pending, but ordered it to pay $200 million to the court within 60 days to ensure the stay. Reverend David calls on federal government to set up a panel of inquiry to unpack what happened in the PNID case and draw lessons for future engagements. You are watching the Global News on Atlantic Television. Apologies. Here is a report.
The African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANEJ, has responded to the UK court's ruling on the Process and Justice Development Limited (PNID) scandal. The executive director, ANEJ, David Okolo, said on Monday, 23 October 2023, Business and Property Court in London stopped enforcement of the $11 billion arbitration award for favor of P&ID against Nigeria in case marked CR-2019-00752, adding that Judge Robin Knowles found out that the massive arbitration award was stained by fraud and contrary to public policy.
On Monday, the Business and Property Court in London stopped the enforcement of the 11 billion arbitration award in favor of PID against Nigeria in a case marked CL-219-00752. The judge, Robin Knowles, found that the massive arbitration award in favor of Process and Industrial Development Limited (PID) was tainted by fraud. In his words, the awards were obtained by fraud. The way in which the awards were procured was contrary to public policy. We are enthused that Nigeria was able to establish a strong prima facie case that the 2010 gas project agreement between the government and PID was procured by bribes paid to insiders as part of a large scheme to defraud Nigerians.
According to him, P&ID claims that Nigeria violated the terms of its agreement by failing to gas the power plant it wants to build for the country.
PID in his claim said Nigeria violated the terms of its agreement by failing to provide gas for the power plant he wants to build for the country. The government of former President Goodluck Jonathan sadly reached an out-of-court tribunal agreement for the payment of $850 million and passed on disbursement to the administration of President Buhari. For former President Muhammad Buhari worked at that idea of paying the negotiated sum, set aside his settlement agreement and challenged the enforcement of the award before the English Commercial Court. But the London court added $2.4 billion in interest, making it $9 billion.
He said the judge granted Nigeria's request for a stay on any asset seizures while its legal challenge is pending, ordered it to pay $200 billion to the court within 60 days to ensure the stay.
Luckily, the judge granted Nigeria's request for stay on any asset seizure while its legal challenge is pending, but ordered it to pay $200 billion to the court within 60 days to ensure the stay. Nigeria was also to pay some court costs to PID within 14 days. The original decision on August 16 converted an arbitration award held by PID to a legal judgment, which will allow PID to try to seize the international assets. In 2018, Nigeria began investigating the company through EFCC and found evidence of 2 bank transfers totaling $20,000 made by Dublin-based Industrial Consultant International Limited, part of the PID group of companies, to Grace Tega, a Nigerian government lawyer who oversaw the award of the gas plant's contract. These unscrupulous Nigerians have continued to fleece the country and bring it to its knees.
Reverend David called on federal government to set up a panel of inquiry to unpack what's happened in the P&ID case and draw lessons for future engagement.
For us in ANEJ, we see the outcome of this case as a blessing for the poor Nigerians that are currently suffering from grand corruption carried out by Nigerian elites and their foreign collaborators over these years. The UK court has helped to block the stealing of people's resources. We cannot but commend the UK government and the tenacity of Muhammad Buhari's administration not to accept the dubious out-of-court settlements initiated by the Goodluck Jonathan's administration. We therefore wish to call on the Nigerian and UK government to ensure that they expose and prosecute all those who are involved in the grand corruption to serve as a deterrent and also end the culture of impunity in business transactions in Nigeria. We also call on the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, to set up a panel of inquiry to unpack what happened in the PID case and draw lessons for future engagement.
Joseph Moses, ATN News, Abuja.
You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. House of Representatives has called on the federal government to auction all police barracks across the country. The lawmakers also asked the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Police Affairs to liaise with the Bureau of Public Enterprise to immediately assess the value of all federal-owned barracks across the country and announce a public offering for same. The resolution of the House was sequel to the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance on the need to address the deplorable living conditions of officers of the Nigerian police force. The motion was raised by Honorable Murphy Omori. Moving the motion, he recalled that in September 2020, the National Assembly passed the Police Reform Bill 2020, which was signed into law by the former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari on September 16, 2020. And one of its core issues was to address the living conditions of the nation's gallant police officers. The lawmaker noted that the problem of adequate and dignified accommodation for police officers persists and has so far outlived all previous measures, stressing that between 2019 to 2022, over 5 billion naira was spent by the federal government on barracks renovations, adding that despite all efforts, barracks continue to fail to meet basic needs in their current state of disrepair and lack of maintenance, adding that there had been robust national debates and calls for more community-oriented policing strategies and having officers living among the general population rather than in their secluded barracks would significantly satisfy the calls and enhance public safety. Omori emphasized that the barracks method of housing for police and local law enforcement officers was a relic colonial practice that had since been abandoned by the same colonialists in their home countries, and expressed worry that police officers and their families live in squalor, characterized by large cracks on the wall, bat-infested houses, leaking roofs, and dilapidated structures for barracks across the country, while also lamenting that police officers had been targeted as corrupt, saying this cannot be divorced from lack of welfare services for them. House Committee on Public Petitions says it is set to help Nigerians get justice from any petition presented without going through court judgment. The Chairman House Committee on Public Petitions, Honorable Mike Ateba, said this at the Strategic and Capacity Building Retreat session held on 27 October 2023 in Abuja, stressing that the retreat focused on the roles of public petitions in addressing citizens' grievances and complaints, as well as examining the role of the Public Complaints Commission. Here is a report.
This epoch event is focused on the roles of public petitions committees on addressing citizens' grievances and complaints, as well as examining the roles of the Public Complaints Commission. Having been appointed members of the House of Representative Committee on Public Petitions, you have now assumed a quasi-judicial position aimed at carrying out investigations and dispute resolutions. Hence, you are now Minister of God in the Temple of Justice. In recent times, harsh economic situations, high cases of corruption, high rate of unemployment, unfair termination of unemployment, and perceived injustice. These are some of the Problems our committee, using the quasi-judicial role and the Public Complaints Commission, were created to address.
Honorable Mike said the committee remains the last hope of common Nigerians as they are at the liberty of presenting their petitions free of charge and without worried about getting a lawyer to stand for them. Here is a report.
Well, the committee is the last hope for a common man because, one, you don't need to go to the committee with 1 naira or 2 naira. If you need a lawyer that will stand for you, we have a pro bono lawyers in the committees that can stand for you. If you don't have confidence in yourself, we will give you lawyers that will stand for you and defend your petition for you. So Nigerians don't need to be intimidated by any kind. You don't need to go to the route of court that will take you 10 years, 5 years to resolve your matter from magistrate court to high court, or probably the federal high court to appeal court to the Supreme Court. Come to the House of Representatives Committee on Public Petitions and get your matters resolved amicably without being biased of any kind. Well, as being the chairman of Public Petitions, first is to do justice to Nigerians and also to make Nigerians understand how they will be able to help themselves in the House of Representatives through the public petitions. Now, if you have any issue in respect to any kind of what you might be going through, what you need to do is to put up a petition to the House in any of your members representing you, or submit it in Speaker's office or in my office. So we transmit it to the House for the House to take it in the floor for the petition to be able to have a flesh.
While the Executive Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, Clement Nwankwo, has this to say. Here is a report.
It's to help the committee to plan on how to engage with citizens, how to institute the process of receiving public complaints or complaints from the public and be able to provide solutions. Like I said, once citizens are unable to find the resources to go to court, then either they suffer in silence or they resort to extra legal means to find those solutions. And this committee is that bridge to ensure that citizens can take advantage of the powers of the committee to help them find solutions to their problems. To address the challenges citizens face who have complaints, especially against public institutions. It's to build the capacity of the committee to engage the public, take petitions from the public, and address those petitions in terms of providing solutions and answers to the complaints they may have. On a regular basis, citizens have complaints. They cannot afford the cost of litigation in the courts, and the public petitions committees of the National Assembly, and I assume also that the public petition committee in the states are also up and running, but really to get the public petitions committees of the National Assembly to take in citizens' complaints and provide solutions in order to bridge the challenge of citizens finding resources to go to court.
House of Representatives has urged the federal government to address the deplorable living conditions of personnel of the Nigeria Police Force. The Green Chamber also urged the government to seek ways of ensuring the immediate auctioning of police barracks nationwide. The resolution followed by the adoption of a motion moved during the House plenary by the Honorable Osaro Omori as a matter of urgent public importance and adopted by the House. Moving the motion, Honorable Mori noted that in September 2020, the National Assembly passed the Police Reform Bill 2020, which was signed into law by the former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari on September 16, 2020, saying that one of its core issues was to address the living conditions of the living conditions of our nation's gallant police officers. The lawmakers also noted that the problem of adequate and dignified accommodation for police officers persists and has so far outlived all previous measures. According to him, between 2019 and 2022, over 5 billion naira was spent by the federal government on barracks renovations. Here is the update.
Mr. Speaker, the House notes that in September 2020,
the Nigerian National Assembly passed a Police Reform Bill 2020, which was signed into law by the former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari on September 16, 2020. And one of its core issues was to address the living conditions of our nation's gallant police officers. The House also notes that the problem of adequate and dignified accommodation for police officers persists and has so far outlived all previous measures. For example, between 2019 and 2022, over 5 billion naira was spent by the federal government on barracks renovation. Despite all effort, barracks continue to fail to meet basic needs in their current state of disrepair and lack of maintenance. Mr. Speaker, the House is aware that there has been robust national debate and calls for more community-oriented policing strategies, and having officers of the Nigerian police force living among the general population rather than in their secluded barracks will significantly satisfy this cause and enhance public safety. The House also notes that the barracks method of housing for police and local law enforcement officers is a relic colonial practice, which has since been abandoned by the same colonialists in their home countries.
He urged the House to direct the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Police Affairs to liaise with the Bureau of Public Enterprise to immediately assess the value of all federally owned barracks across the country and announce a public offering for the same. He also urged the House to constitute an ad hoc committee to produce a comprehensive addendum to the police reform bill with input from all relevant stakeholders and to report back to the House within a 4-week period for further legislative action, as well as mandated the House Committee on Appropriation to ensure a redeployment of funds meant for the maintenance of barracks across the country and provide annual budgetary allocation for the construction of a befitting housing allowance for 7 police officers. Up next is business news. Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima says Nigeria earns about $5 billion from gas, but described it as too low, particularly when compared to what Egypt earns from the same commodity despite having a far lower gas reserves. Shettima, who spoke at the 6th Value Chain and Annual Lecture and Awards in Abuja, said Nigeria has over 200 trillion cubic feet of untapped gas resources and ranks 9th globally in terms of proven reserves, adding that the impact of truly exploiting the nation's gas reserves could not be overstated, as gas was critical to the nation's power supply, not only accounting for 80% of power generation today, but expected to be the dominant power generation source by the end of this decade. The Vice President, who was represented by the Special Advisor to the President on Energy and Power Infrastructure, Office of the Vice President Sadiq Wanka, said Nigeria earns around $5 billion from gas production, a figure that is 40% less than in Egypt, which has around 30% of Nigeria's reserves. He also said the theme of the event around midstream gas infrastructure was timely and as important of a critical gas transport infrastructure, processing facilities and other midstream infrastructure could not be overstated. You're still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. U.S. has carried out airstrikes against 2 weapons and ammunition storage facilities in eastern Syria used by Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said the strikes were in response to recent attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria by Iranian-backed militia groups. The strikes took place on Friday near Abu Kamal, a town on the border with Iraq, and it is not yet known if there were any casualties from the attacks. U.S. and coalition troops have been attacked at least 12 times in Iraq and 4 times in Syria since the conflict between Israel and Hamas began, while a total of 21 U.S. military personnel have suffered minor injuries, according to the Pentagon. American officials attribute the attacks to Iranian proxy groups operating in the region, while Iran backs both Hamas, which controls Gaza, and Hezbollah, which operates in Lebanon with arms as well as money. Former Chinese Prime Minister Li Kikiang is dead. Kijiang died in the early hours of Friday at the age of 68 after suffering a sudden heart attack in Shanghai. He suffered a heart attack late on Thursday and died on Friday after attempts to resuscitate him failed. This is coming after Kijiang had stepped down as premier in March after 10 years in office under Chinese President Xi Jinping. He was born on July 1st, 1955 in Dingyang in eastern province of Anhui, the son of a functionary, and in 1974 during the Cultural Revolution, Kijiang was forced to go to the countryside like other intellectuals. As one of only 3% of all applicants who managed to gain admission, he studied law at Peking University and earned a doctorate in economics and was effectively sidelined by Xi and eventually replaced by Li Qiang in March. But there had been rumors about his health for years. And now is entertainment news. Popular Lagos celebrity auto dealer Ikechukwu Ogbonna, better known as IVD Motors, has denied claims that singer Davido is currently owing him about 4.5. This is coming after a controversial self-acclaimed relationship expert based Blessing CEO called Davido out on the internet for owing 4.5 million naira for a car he purchased for his aide, Israel DMW. Reacting to this in a post on his Instagram page, IVD stated that Davido wasn't owing him a dime. In its efforts to secure the musical rights of the works of the late singer Ireoluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, the House of Representatives have summoned controversial singer Azeez Fashola Naira Marley to appear before it. The House Committee on Justice, Youth and Legislative Compliance also invited Mohbad's manager, Jigi Adeoye, to appear on October 31st. This is coming after Mohbad, a former signee in Naira Marley's record label, died on September 12, 2023 in controversial circumstances, and he and Lagos State government ordered the coroner's inquest into the death of the 27-year-old singer. The House resolution followed the adoption of a motion moved by Babajimi Benson, the lawmaker representing the Ikorodu Federal Constituency, Lagos State, who emphasized the need to review the laws governing the entertainment industry in the bid to safeguard artists' copyright and royalties. And here now is ATN Sports News. Former Chelsea striker Didier Drogba will present Lionel Messi with the 2023 Ballon d'Or award on Monday. This was confirmed by football transfer expert Fabrizio Romano on Friday morning. The Romano posted a short video of Drogba, who has already arrived at Paris where the ceremony will take place, and wrote, "Didier Drogba will give Lionel Messi his Ballon d'Or number 8. Messi, who now plays for Inter Miami in the MLS, will become the first footballer outside Europe to win the prize, and will also be a record-extending 8th time for the 36-year-old. Union Berlin have hit Chelsea loanee David Datro Fofana with a 1-week suspension after his angry reaction to being subbed off in the side's recent UFA's champion League 1-0 home defeats to Napoli. Fofana, who once again failed to score a goal or provide an assist for Union Berlin, was withdrawn in the 70th minute during the encounter against Napoli, and the 20-year-old made his way post-manager Urs Fischer. He refused to shake the coach's outstretched hand or even make eye contact. While there was also a brief coming together between Fofana and Fischer, he will not be considered for selection against either whether Bremner at the weekend or Tuesday's German Cup tie against Stuttgart as a result of the suspension. While the youngster will also train separately from the first team squad for the duration of his suspension before rejoining team training on Wednesday, 1st November. Meanwhile, Fofana, who moved to Chelsea from middle last year, had already issued an apology via his social media account, and gesture was not intended and in no way does it represent my attitude, and all this was generated as a result of frustration because I wanted to continue helping the team to obtain a positive result. In the face of recording a win and a draw in the last friendly games during the international break, their only game since the last FIFA World Rankings in September, Nigeria has remained 40th place, though the Super Eagles gained 1.62 points in the month under review to take the total point to 1490.48, and Eagles played a 2-2 draw with Saudi Arabia in the first game of the two friendlies before beating Mozambique 3-2 in the other game. And still the results did not have much effect on the position on the rankings table. Jose Pizarro team witnessed a significant drop in the ranking in April, falling to 40th, following the December ranking of 35th in Africa, while the major reason for this drop was suggested to be the non-participation in the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, and Nigeria held 39th in the rankings in June and July, but slipped back to 40th in September. Meanwhile, Morocco remained Africa's #1 nation while also maintaining the 13th place in the world ranking, and Senegal still occupied the 20th place in the world while they maintained their second position in Africa. Tunisia, who were the only African country among the top 6 on the continent to move up globally last month, were the only country among the top 6 to drop points. They ranked 29th in the previous rankings, but in the update released by FIFA on Thursday, and they now occupy the 32nd position in the world, while Algeria is 33rd, and Egypt 35th to complete the top 5 in Africa. Globally, World Cup winners Argentina is still the #1 ranked nation ahead of France, Brazil, England, and Belgium. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Rivers community demands government support to fix dilapidated schools. Asari probes Tinubu over lopsided appointments. Southern Middle Belt leaders demand for true federalism. Senate investigates poor implementation of PIA. U.S. strikes Syria bases used by Iran-linked groups. Reps summon Naira Marley over Mobat's royalties. Didier Drogba to honor Messi with 2023 award. I am Basila Chadamba. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms. Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Do remember that peace and unity are pathways to progress. Good night.
From the line across the ocean